Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are just getting ready for qualifying for round number 5 of the NORL F1 2018 Championship. Round 5 coming to you live at Catalonia. Now, the guys are just applying whatever setups they are opting to run for today and getting ready for their one shot at qualifying. Very much like the name says, one shot qualifying. You get one lap, and that is all you get. So here we get ready to see who has the early advantage going into qualifying. You suspect, similar suspect of Nibbler to have a good run into the straight, but it's actually Kevin Jacobs who is the fastest down the straight line, perhaps hinting at a lower downforce setting in terms of the pace up front. Testermeister now takes the lead in the hot lap. Now, good shout out for Def Stez up in P number 2. The driver coming into the series for the rest of the season as the newest rookie, coming to try out his pace here in Spain and seeing just how well he can get on in this NORL grid. So far, Testermeister still leading the way on this qualifying session with Ragnar in second. Quite a shock at Nibbler down only in P3. How will he be able to do throughout the rest of this lap? We will see. And it's still Testermeister leading the way then. Nibbler finds his way up into second then, as we come into this very slow and slippery sector. Ragnar P3, Defstez P4, great effort from the man on his first attempt. And Altanovic P5, P6, we'll see Kevin Jacobs up higher than he's been so far this season, but he will have to finish this lap if he wants to stay that way. Through the crucial chicane, Nibbler finds a little bit of time on Testermeister. Looks like he's going to go take pole on the soft compound tyre. That is absolutely huge. Nibbler has taken pole position on the slower compound of tyre. Ragnar gets P3. That's an absolute shock to the system and just gives you an idea of how much Nibbler is in a league of his own. He's in an absolute lead of his own. There's no one touching him here today on them soft compound tyres. Takes pole position. Destes, shout out for the man starting in fourth with a 1 minute 20 dead. Good effort, 1.2 seconds off the pace, best of the rest outside of the top 3 as we get ready to go racing for round number 5 of the NORL F1 2018 Championship in 13 seconds. We could just look at that soft compound tyres and he takes pole position. That just shows that Nibbler is head and shoulders above the rest of the grid here today. We'll see how the strategy works out for him, but it's looking very good if you're a Scuderia Ferrari fan. Bad qualifying for Murcielago sees him start in last on the medium compound tyres. Keep an eye out for Murcielago in the Red Bull on the medium compound of tyres. So here we are getting ready to go racing in Catalonia. Quite a lot of tyre wear, so good effort from Nibbler to get on that pole position. And get ready. Lewis Hamilton just won the F1 2018 FIA World Championship. Can Nibbler start a little bit of progress towards winning the NORL F1 2018 World Championship with another win here today? Let's find out. Galactic Skull 2 in the chat as always. Thank you for tuning in. Unable to make it for himself. We get ready on the formation lap. Unlucky for Galactic Skull 2 at the timing. And as well, Subaru Ryan looks like he's going to miss out on the grid as well by showing up a bit late. Going down the formation lap, let's take a look at the grid and what we have available for us today. Now we're going to get out those tyres again. Oh, so important that this man starting in the lead is on the better race tyre, but he will have less grip off the start. On the opening lap, he should come under attack from Testermeister and Ragnar. Now, Destes is in the mix as well, but being his first race, you would expect him to take it a bit easy. Trying to make a good impression, a podium would be an absolute stellar result for the Force India on his first ever run in the NORL, but we'll have to see how that goes. Nemesis Racing lines up P9. Of course, took a very good performance last time out in Baku. First podium in a long time for the Italian. Murcielago on the medium tyres, has actually opted to start on the softs. So he qualified on the mediums, and on the grid, he was allowed to change his compound of tyre, and he has changed the compound of tyre to the softs. So obviously feels that the mediums just aren't going to cut it here today for him. And he's sacrificed qualifying. We have a yellow flag in sector 2 and 3. Something's gone on back there on this formation lap, but it's just a formation lap. So how much can these two free behind him on the super soft tyres? How much can they attack Nibbler before his tyres get up to temp? Nibbler is very fast here this weekend, and on the same compound tyre, nobody, I don't think, will be a match for him today. But he is on the softs, and he's going to have a poor start because of the softs. So we'll have to see how aggressive the super soft drivers can afford to be, and see if they get away with going racing then. For the first time out, a lot of pressure on this young American's shoulders as well to get a good effort out there. He just needs to keep his nose clean and make a good first impression. He's in a very good position, and he doesn't want to get caught up in any turn 1 nonsense. He wants to just get away. And look, quite a few specks of gravel on that inside tyre for the Haas. But here we go then. So we get ready to go racing for round number 5 of the Nemesis Online Racing League F1 2018 World Championship. Lights out, and away we go. Nibbler gets a pretty good start. What does it look like behind? Ragnar gets a good start. Already alongside with Testomeister going into turn 1. The guys behind keeping it nice and easy. Testomeister looks to the inside. No room to go on it. Ragnar will now try to go around the outside. Cuts the corner a little bit, but gets the job done ahead of Testomeister. Testomeister now fights back on the inside. Takes that away. We've got a spinner in the background, and I fear that's the new boy. It is the new boy. Defstairs goes around. Subaru Ryan doesn't seem to be anywhere on the grid, but yet he's showing up on the timing. Mercedes gets caught up with the McLaren, goes for a spin, big contact on the first lap. The new boy will find himself on the scene of the accident and will now have an opportunity to go up being black, but crucially gets away from that accident. We now have a Haas of Nemesis Racing going off the track. That's going to allow the attack of Murcielago to begin down into the downhill chicane, which turns to an uphill run. And he's going to get a better run because Nemesis goes deep again, looking for a way past. No, not around the outside. Mixed contact. Loses the rear himself. Nemesis almost goes off the track in that absolute chaotic run. Meanwhile, further up the grid, Nibbler has begun to extend his advantage as Testomeister now makes a mistake and finds himself blocking Ragnar. That will bring Anel Tanovic into play on the soft compound tyres. Meanwhile, Murcielago's made the move on the Haas and drives away. Beamer Black will now fight the new boy in Defstairs. These boys, here's the positions. Big losers then are Defstairs on that very first lap. Everyone else has either gained a position or stayed where they are. So meanwhile, Nemesis Racing back on the attack. Once more on the rear of Murcielago, right up behind him. Going to look to the inside. Going to have to late brake to get this move done into turn 1. Does late brake, but does he go a little bit too wide? Because now Murcielago has the outside line, which turns to the inside. Contact between the two Italians, I believe, and they both go through turn number 3 flat out. Nemesis Racing on the outside. Murcielago does have the favourable line, but they're still side by side. Nemesis will try to late brake and try to keep it around the outside as much as he dare, and they're pushing harder, and up the inside goes Nemesis Racing. Murcielago will still fight it on the outside, uses all the curb and a bit more. Great racing between these two down for P6 and P7, but it's Nemesis Racing who gets the job done on lap number 2. Meanwhile, Anel Tanovic has started closing in a little bit on the Toro Rosso of Ragnar 184. Fortunate. Very good qualifying for the new boy Defstairs, who finds himself down in 9th place, chasing Beamer Black. A front lockup signals to me he's not using any assists, so that could be. Unfortunately, we don't have any replays of what happened at turn 1, but it was a very messy start. We had cars going everywhere on the first lap. We had the McLaren getting tapped by the Mercedes of Lord George. Meanwhile, the Lord George fan club of Danny G and Michael Hobson has tuned in from around the world, one at Lord George's house and one at Madrid. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for the kind words on the NORL and the commentary. I very much appreciate it. And let's see if Lord George can get a better result here today. But the closest gap on track right now is 0.3 of a second, and now it's changed to less than 0.2 of a second up ahead because Murcielago is chasing down Nemesis Racing once again. And Subaru Ryan's game crashed, and that's why he did not make the grid. Very unfortunate, Ryan. Feels like you are in the Red Bull car. You're very much getting the Daniel Ricciardo experience this year of just constant breakdowns. unlucky, and we hope to see you again next week. Meanwhile, Ragnar has found himself a Renault to have a bit of fun with. And meanwhile, Nibbler's just driving away on the harder compound tyre, so this is very much checkmate for Nibbler at this stage in the race. Through the slow and slidey final sector they go. Ragnar looking for anything on the Italian Renault in front of him. Nothing just yet. The Italian battle set to do battle. Going into turn once again, the Italian pair. At the final corner they come. Ragnar took it a little bit easy. And he loses all of that time to Testameister. I'm not sure how much DRS will help him because he's a long way back, but it is a long straight. He's going to close the gap, but he isn't going to overtake. Not on this occasion. Meanwhile, 0.3 of a second might be an overtake. Look how defensive Nemesis Racing goes all the way to the inside. Now, the Red Bull gets to run around the outside, just like Max Verstappen today, gets the job done. And he'll hope to stay in front of that Haas. But the Haas getting a little bit of a slide on in the background, just trying to keep up, and now goes wide. Makes a little bit of a mistake under the pressure of trying to stick with that Red Bull in the turbulent air. And that's job done for Murcielago, our man who nearly took his first win in the FIA GT3 series on Wednesday. Unfortunately, it did not pan out for him, and he finds himself down in P6 now, battling with Nemesis Racing on a Sunday in a completely different caliber of car. So we'll see if his luck is any better this week than it was last time. Nemesis Racing did get a podium last week. Did a very good job to get where he was in Baku after that crazy race. But now he finds himself really glued to the rear of Murcielago. No opportunities in the final sector. His next opportunity would be turn one if he can stick with him. And he's got to remain relatively close, because if he doesn't, then he's got no chance into turn one. Through the final chicane they come, and back up on the throttle. And away they go. Now, DRS for Nemesis, but it looks like it's a bit too far back. Meanwhile, Ragnar has just had an attempt at Testameister. It hasn't worked out, but Testameister makes a mistake. Got on the throttle too early and allows the Toro Rosso through. Now, how will Aneltanovic respond to this little battle that has just triggered because of that mistake from the Renault? Hooking up the inside line, the top 2, 3 and 4 all doing battle through Sector 1. Going into Sector 2 now, Aneltanovic has got a front row seat and he's on the more favourable tyres. Aneltanovic can go longer into the race than the two guys in front of him. This battle is strictly between Renault and Toro Rosso, and the McLaren's there to pick up the pieces if it all goes wrong. So out the final corner they come. DRS for Testameister. He's going to have to do it from a long way back, and he is going to do it from a long way back. Up the inside, banging wheels as he does it. Now has the inside, favourable for Ragnar because it turns to the inside, but Ragnar backs out of it. But then another mistake from Testameister. We'll see. Aneltanovic move up into third, now makes contact, and Ragnar's off. Ragnar's off into the wall. Contact as the McLaren went for 2 in 1. Still getting involved in a fight with Testameister. Murcielago DNFs from the session. Is he out? Drive-through penalty for Ragnar for taking out Murcielago. So that's what happened. Murcielago was an innocent victim. Murcielago just got taken out by what I believe is an unsafe rejoin from Ragnar after he got taken out by Testameister, and Kevin Jacobs is up in second. Wow, how things change. 5-second stop go for speeding in the pit lane as well will effectively rule anything out for Ragnar here today. Murcielago taken out through no fault of his own. Defstairs is getting a new front wing. This will help Lord Jord because he looks like he got involved in a little bit of a scrape at the beginning of the lap and finds himself 40 seconds down. This will bring him closer into the fight. It will bring him up to the back of Ragnar in this fight. But wow, what just happened? So, Testameister made a dive bomb on Ragnar, which caused Ragnar to back out. And then Testameister made a mistake, which allowed Aneltanovic to get past Testa as he's about to make the move once again. Up the inside goes the McLaren. Has the Renault got anything to defend with? No, sir, not on this occasion. That's Beamer Black, actually, not Aneltanovic. My apologies. Good move by Beamer Black to find himself up in P5. Did a very good drive last time out in FIA GT3 as well. Kevin into the pits then And careful not to speed into the pit lane. Good entry from the Haas. Now Anel Tanovic will follow him in. The soft compound tyres not lasting as long as you would expect, unless they've got damage. But Testameister in as well. Beamer Black stays out because his pit box is full of Kevin Jacobs and Anel Tanovic. Front wing change then for Anel Tanovic, so he didn't get away with that scrap free. But what tyres are those going onto the McLaren? Are those the white stripe medium compound? Get a bit more light when we get out of the shadows. I believe that's the white. Let's clarify that. It is the white. The few guys out on the medium, then these guys on the mediums are definitely going to the end, but the medium tyres have a lot, and I mean a lot less grip than any other tyre on the grid. So what a crazy set of circumstances. Anel Tanovic got the run on both of them, caused collision with Ragnar. Ragnar went off into the wall and unsafely rejoined the track, is what I'm assuming has happened. And he's just come out into the path of Murcielago. Murcielago with nowhere to go gets taken out through no fault of his own. What a brutal way. Meanwhile, Nemesis Racing on the gravel once again. And the new youngster, the new boy in the American seat of the Force India will see that gravel getting kicked up and sense an opportunity on the Italian ahead. Meanwhile, Nibbler's just out on a Sunday drive. Off to pick up some groceries. Maybe off to pick up some Daniel Ricciardo memorabilia to soften the blow of today's DNF for Daniel Ricciardo, but no challenge for him today. And why is Beamer Black going so slow? Beamer Black has completely misjudged the pit entry and slowed down way before he needs to, and that will mean he'll lose a lot of time to this man, Kevin Jacobs. Now a 44-second gap after pit stops. Just to Galactic Skull 2 says it's 31-second gap. It is. It's now 44 seconds to Kevin Jacobs. Kevin Jacobs looking to take his first podium in NORL F1. Be a good effort from him if he can do it. He's just sort of come out of nowhere, hasn't he? And Defstes is chasing down Nemesis Racing, smelling blood. And we've got yellow flags because now Ragnar's retired from the session. This is sector 3, so we can't see it, but somewhere Ragnar's had a crash. Unfortunately, we can't look at crashes after they've happened on this game. It's a little bit upsetting, so we will never know. But Ragnar is out of the race. Ragnar leaves the session in disgust. Beamer Black, meanwhile, makes a spin, and Lord Job will go up into P7. What a shame for Beamer Black. It was going so well, maybe a little bit too well. And it's all come undone for the McLaren. Now gets back on his merry little way. Defstes right up the rear, big lock up on the front left. But he is right with Nemesis Racing. Now, the most experienced driver in NORL history, in front of the least experienced driver in NORL history. Let's see how the value of experience plays out in Nemesis Racing's defense. We come through the final chicane. Defstes will need a good run, and it's possible, but he does get a little bit eager on the throttle, but should have DRS, and this should be pretty easy going into turn 1. How much will Nemesis fight for this 4th position? Defstes to the inside. Nemesis Racing subdued the position, and Defstes finds himself back up in P4. Good stuff from the American after it all went wrong in the first lap, but up into P4, and away he goes. Anel Tanovic, I'm assuming, will be investigated for the crazy incidents that happened, but it shouldn't affect the race standing. So Anel Tanovic still on for a podium, and if Defstes wants that dream podium from his first race, he's going to have to go and earn it. Big lockup from the Force India once again, but just so much understeer on the medium compound tyres. I feel like the mediums weren't the right choice here. We'll monitor the gap between Defstes to Anel Tanovic. Of course, Anel Tanovic is on the medium compound tyre, Defstes on the soft. We'll just see how much faster the softs really are. Nibbler still yet to pit. Nibbler on lap 10 still yet to pit. Everybody else has. He's made them tyres last 9 laps. Good effort from the Australian. But you can just see the visible understeer coming from the Haas as he tries to keep with the Force India. And now he's been gobbled up by Testameister on the soft. So the mediums, like I said, don't have a lot of grip at all. Very slippery, very skatey, and very, very tricky to drive. So we're at lap 10. Nibbler leads by 45 seconds, as is usually the case. Kevin Jacobs finds himself up in P2, the highest he's been all season. And his highest has probably been in his career. Good effort for the F1 record. Anel Tanovic will chase him down, and you'd like to think that Anel Tanovic will at least challenge Kevin Jacobs for that P2. Defstez, the new boy, finds himself up in P4 after just passing the veteran of Nemesis Racing for 5th place. 6th place sees Testermeister getting involved in a lot of incidents at the start. And finds himself in B6. Lord George got involved in a little bit of accidents at the start. Nibbler now finally pits. And Beamer Black, who just had that spin, is down in P8. Cal Spencer says it is a boring race for a win, and I have to agree with him. But we know the reason why. And Nibbler's is just in a different caliber to the rest of the grid. When Chaza isn't really here to challenge him, it all kind of goes downhill. And of course, Danny Ibn Laha, the only man that has been able to challenge him other than Chaza, isn't here as well. So no competitors for Nibbler here today, and he will just drive his way through the Spanish sunset. Wow, that was a big slide for Defstez, almost sliding into the pit wall. Do you remember when somebody called Fernando nearly did that? I believe it was Fernando. It was either Fernando or Giancarlo. I apologise if I got it wrong. But on the warm-up lap, and there is the sound glitch. Or is that just how much the Renault is redlining? No, it is not. That is how much the Renault is redlining. No, it is the sound glitch. I was going to say that's very, very unpleasant. But Testermeister really going after Nemesis Racing here. Nemesis Racing going after Defstez after that mistake out of the final corner. Going around the second sector. And that Testermeister always seems to get that sound glitch. Murcielago leaves the session. He's had enough. There was a lock-up in front from the Force India as well. Force India struggling to get them to get in a good rhythm, to get away from this battle behind him. Testermeister could be faster than both of these two at this stage in the race, but he's got to get the work done on Nemesis Racing before he can get past. And I'm not sure why Testermeister is the only car with this sound glitch, but it sounds absolutely awful. So we'll avoid going on board for as long as we can until it gets fixed. Another lock-up for Defstez going into sector 3 then. Shows that he's not enjoying them soft tyres as much as he was a few laps ago. Nibbler is very much having better luck than Daniel Ricciardo. That is very true. So 8 cars remain, only 1 car on the Super Softs. Meanwhile, Testermeister chasing down Nemesis Racing for all that it's worth, and he should get a better exit out of the final corner, because he's on the soft compound tyre, DRS as well. I'm assuming he's going to be in rich revs and overtake mode as well. How hard will Nemesis Racing fight this? And the answer is not a lot at all. Testermeister goes up the inside, no defence offered by the man on the medium compound tyres, and he knows that this is going to come back to him. He can go a lot longer than the cars in front of him. However, going wide isn't the best thing for those tyres. And Testermeister's through, and will now hunt down the new boy in Defstez. Meanwhile, Anel Tanovic has found himself within 1 second of Kevin Jacobs. He has finally tracked him down, and will begin his assault on the rear of the Haas. Coming up into a DRS zone now. This is a good opportunity. A lot of understeer from the front there. Both these guys on the mediums, both dealing with the same issues. Not going to happen for him this time, but his next opportunity will surely be turn 1. Meanwhile, Testermeister is just 1/10 of a second behind Defstez and goes up the inside. How will he hold it? Defstez locks up, goes for the switchback, but Testermeister parks his car in just the right place, and Defstez will find himself down in P5. To Defstez, still within the 1 second. Meanwhile, Nemesis Racing is going off to Jerez. Really struggling to keep that car within the track limits is the Haas, unfortunately for him. Lord George still hasn't pitted as well. That is a memorable shout out. He has actually pitted. He pitted on lap 3. He's had a rough time, getting caught up in some lap 1 turmoil. I believe he made contact with Anel Tanovic on the first lap, or was it Beamer Black? It was one of the cars made contact with a McLaren. It probably was Beamer Black. And the racing continues for another lap. Meanwhile, Anel Tanovic still hasn't found a way by. Really trying to pressure that Kevin Jacobs car. Trying to find any way by Kevin. Really good defence at this stage in the race. Now, it does say Kevin's on the medium compound tyres, but they look like softs to me. So one of these things it's not like the other. One of these is lying. We'll have to see. Meanwhile, Nibbler sets the new fastest lap of the race on mediums nonetheless. And Anel Tanovic still no way by the American. Plus, the American earlier this year signed for NORL in the AIC Championship, so favoured by NORL as one of their better drivers. His results have been a little bit fluctuating this season, but the team have faith in him, and he's really showing them why. In the NORL Championships, he's holding up one of the more experienced, and you'd have to say one of the faster drivers. So, but you feel like that defense is about to come to an end because DRS kind of sells the goat here, but Kevin goes more defensive than I've ever seen in my life. And will Aneltanovic have the bravery to go clean around the outside? Not really, because Kevin's pushing him all the way. Absolute wheel-to-wheel stuff. And now Kevin up the inside holds it once again. Great driving by Kevin. Who is this Kevin Jacobs? This is better than he's drove the entire season. Aneltanovic tries again. Absolute fractions of a second separating these guys here. A little bit more traction there. Gives Aneltanovic the run, but of course Kevin has the inside line, mounts the curb, really getting into it. They bang side pods, tyre to side pod, and Kevin is still there, going up to the inside. Aneltanovic subdues the position, but now gets to run around the outside. He's not going to make it around the outside in the next corner. He'll have to wait from DRS. Phenomenal racing from these two drivers. Aneltanovic gets DRS once again and will look to go around the outside of the next corner. He's going to have to be very late on the brakes because Kevin's covered the inside well once more. Aneltanovic goes for the switchback again, but Kevin's car is in the way. Kevin planting it exactly where he needs to. However, Kevin was a little bit away from that apex, and that will cost him a little bit of time. Nemesis Racing is closing in on Defstez again, but we are focused on the Aneltanovic and Kevin Jacobs battle. And Kevin actually gets the better run out of the chicane, so a little bit more saving grace. And here we go for round two. Now, Aneltanovic is further away than he was on the last attempt. We'll see how much of a fight Kevin puts up this time. Kevin opts for that inside line immediately, and Anel's going to have to be very late on the brakes, compromise his line just to try get his car in position for the second part. And he's there once again, but Kevin held the inside well last time. Looks like he does the same again, and Anel's going to try for a switchback. Holds back position for now, gets some slipstream up in the run into turn 4. Looks for the inside again, but no, Kevin Jacobs wins the battle once again. Who is Kevin Jacobs? Where does he come from? This driving is absolutely fantastic from Kevin Jacobs, putting up such a good fight here, the American, better than we've seen all season. Aneltanovic still searching for a way past the American, not coming to him on this occasion. 3/10 of a second is the gap between these two, and you can see visibly that is a lot less. A little lock-up for Defstez gives a little bit of an opportunity to Nemesis Racing to go into the next corner. Nowhere to go, but he will have DRS to have an attempt up into the very tight double left-hander coming up, but he opts for the outside line. Defstez holds the inside. Who's going to get the better one? Another lock-up for Defstez, really punishing these tyres, and Nemesis Racing's through on the switchback. The soft tyres really starting to cry for mercy at this stage in the race. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the soft runners start pitting in the next couple of laps. But we're getting ready for round 3 of the Aneltanovic versus Defstez bout. Anel not fully in the slipstream. Kevin goes defensive again because he knows Anel's so much later on the brakes into turn 1. Nowhere doing in this time. Nothing doing on this time. But now Anel goes for the inside, but Kevin cuts him off at the last moment. That was close. And now a little bit of understeer in the turbulent air for Aneltanovic. We'll see him struggle to pass Kevin Jacobs once again. That was so close. He went for a late inside, and Kevin just slammed the door on his nose. A little bit cheeky, but now Aneltanovic on the outside. Kevin Jacobs on the inside. Forces Anel to go the long way around. Anel will go for the outside line now, which gives him the better run down into chicane. Can Kevin really hold it on the outside? Is this game over? No, it's not, because Kevin Jacobs survives once again. Absolutely astonishing driving from Kevin Jacobs. This is the best we have ever seen for this man. Revitalised and full of life. We thought this battle would be over and done with, but Kevin is just driving so well, and you've got to give it to him. Anel's still looking for a way past. Nowhere in this sector, unless he can get a run into the chicane, but it is very doubtful. And he will have to sit back and get a good exit out of the last corner to use DRS into turn 1. Beamer Black, meanwhile, has pitted for a fresh set of soft compound tyres. So out the final corner they come once again, and straight away we're in the slipstream trying to go for it, and now you will see the helicopter cam actually overtake our helicopter cam, and Kevin Jacobs will go for the inside line. Aneltanovic will again try to late brake all the way around the outside, and has he finally done it? Aneltanovic gets the move done. Kevin has to subdue unless he can find something quickly, but no, contact, loses a chunk of front wing and goes wide, and it's all come undone. That was a bit, I don't know, the battle was done, but Kevin got the better run, and he didn't want to give up. But unfortunately, it's ended in a little bit of misery for Kevin Jacobs, and it has brought this man into play. Meanwhile, Lord George UK in the Mercedes comes in for a pit stop. Destes, meanwhile, has gotten back past Nemesis Racing, so another fight going on for the midfield. Midfield giving us a much better show than this man at the moment, up in the front, just driving, getting his Sunday groceries. As we said, Lord George coming into the pits for that service has gone back out on the medium compound tyres. He will likely go to the end of the race. Meanwhile, the battle between Italy and America resumes with Nemesis Racing looking for a late inside manoeuvre this time around. Lord George gets a 5-second stop crossing the white line. Silly mistake by the Mercedes there, unfortunately, costs him dearly. And Nemesis gets back past the American of Destes. Great battle between these two. And what I really love about this battle is it's the most experienced driver in NORL versus the least experienced. A driver easily into his hundreds of racing. Destes gives up the ghost and says, I need some new tyres. Into the pit lane comes the bright pink Force India. Meanwhile, Testomeister finds himself past. And 5-second stop go for Destes for speeding in the pit lane. That is such a shame. Such a battle comes to an end for a speeding penalty. Testomeister gets past Kevin Jacobs and knocks him off the grid. Lightning Kimmy asks, how does he sign up? You would have to contact Nemesis Online Racing on Twitter, and they can see if there's any slots available for you at the end of the season. If not, then you will likely have to wait until next season. But if you want to contact them, their Twitter is Nemesis OR League. So that's at Nemesis OR League on Twitter. Meanwhile, some good battles have come to an end due to some penalties. That's a bit of a shame. So Kevin Jacobs loses a podium. Lord George gets a penalty. Destes picks up a penalty as well. We know Ragnar got some pretty severe penalties. That knocked him out of the race. But the racing stops for a bit as we get into what seems to be a tyre management phase of the race for these drivers. And we just monitor the gap so we can see, oh my goodness, there's Kevin Jacobs going astronomically wide out of the final chicane. Don't come apart now, Kevin. You've raced so well. And a little bit of pressure showing. Danny Ibn Lahar is in the chat. Says he thinks Nibler's won the championship. It's never over until it's over. There's a long way to go, but Nibler is very fast, and it is going to take something more to beat him. But there is a long way to go. So we can't say it's over before it's over, obviously. So, as I take a sip of Pepsi and get ready for the next phase of shouting, half a second is the gap for P8 to P7. Beamer Black and Lord George UK are about to do battle down the front straight. Well, Lord George does have a penalty to serve, so effectively Beamer Black's already passed. Look how Lord George has already gone off the racing line so early, defending against nobody. In that particular situation. Maybe just trying to break the slipstream, but it seemed very aggressive. Beamer Black wasn't anywhere near him in that sense. I think everyone on the medium is trying to go to the end. People on the soft are going to struggle. I think Beamer Black will get to the end. Testomeister won't. Testomeister will need to pick again, I think. It's Beamer Black closing in on Lord George. Needs to get closer to the chicane if he wants to run in the next DRS zone. Up the chicane we go. Into the corner. For a bit of DRS fest. Looks a little bit too far back, but we've seen moves made from further back than this. Tries to scare Lord George. Does work a little bit. A little lock up for Lord George. A little bit of frightening tactics from Beamer Black there. Good effort. Nibbler sets another fastest lap. McLaren's going for him. But will he get him? Lock up into the final corner. Think he might. Very close, but does go wide. That's going to give Lord George a little bit of a chance to defend. So, how's this going to go? McLaren versus Mercedes, something we don't see too often in real life. But Beamer Black opts to stay on the racing line as Lord George goes super defensive. Tries to go around the outside then. Beamer Black held off well by Lord George UK. Beamer Black stays behind for another lap. Unless he can find somewhere other than the main overtaking zone to overtake, but not when he goes wide like that. Unfortunate for him, but favourable if you're a Lord George fan. He'll have to wait another lap if he wants another go. Now, Lord George is on younger tyres, medium compound. Beamer Black is on softer but older, so these guys will start off with Beamer Black having more grip, but the longer Lord George UK stays in front of Beamer Black, which doesn't look like long, judging by the gap right now. We'll see. Oh, very wide for Beamer Black. Might just help Lord George. Is he going to try it around the outside? He'll have to brake very late. He does brake very late, almost too late. Is he going to make the apex? Not the inside, but he'll certainly make the outside. He's now on the inside for the next corner. Lord George's going to have to do something here, or the position's gone. And Beamer Black's up into P7. Now, Beamer Black needs to run because those tyres are going to lose grip pretty rapidly as he gets towards lap 10 in terms of age on the tyres. Now, will Lord George have DRS to have a retaliation attack into turn 1? Let's find out. Does the Mercedes open that rear wing? Yes, it does. So Lord George then is going to have another go and try take back 7th place before Beamer Black gets away. Beamer Black defends the inside well. Lord George on the outside gets the better initial braking. Beamer's there on the inside, and Lord George sweeps around the outside, takes P7 back, but makes a mistake, and that will keep Beamer Black in the fray, but not enough to attack him on this lap. And once again, Beamer Black's behind. Meanwhile, we said that Testameister wasn't going to get to the end, and the sound glitch is going to ruin that. Kevin Jacobs is going to pit as well, and another 5-second stop go for Kevin Jacobs. Oh no, sorry, that's his first one. It was Defstead, the other American, that got his. But that is a nightmare for Kevin Jacobs. What could have been today for the Haas? Drove so well, and honestly, they've been the most minor of accidents. Absolute heartbreak hotel for Kevin Jacobs. I really do feel sorry for him. Testameister's opted for some super softs. What did Kevin opt for? Some softs. Defstead moves up into P5. Remember, Defstead needs to be 5 seconds ahead of whoever he finishes ahead. Meanwhile, though, Kevin Jacobs is outside 5 seconds and has a 5 seconds of his own. So as it stands, Defstead has P5 secure. If he catches and overtakes Tester, he'll have to gain 5 seconds to keep the position, of course. Unless he pits again, and they'll serve that. But these guys trying to go to the end on these mediums, and the mediums are just going to feel so rubbish, especially when the 15, 16 laps or Nemesis finds himself in a podium position again. Much like the strategy that worked for him, going long like he did in Baku, is trying to do that once more. Will it work for him, though? Because 16 lap old mediums against 0 lap old, effectively, super softs are going to be really, really hard to manage. You can see who's on the one stop. And no, of course, Nemesis can't do it. Now he pits to try cut off Testameister. He won't defend against Testameister, I think, but this should get him ahead of Defstead. And I think this is what Nemesis is do. Nemesis is trying to do. He's trying to not undercut, but overcut. He's trying to cover off Defstead's earlier pit stop by going to them soft compound tyres and getting out ahead. Is he going to do it? No, he's not. He will go behind, but if he can get within 5 seconds of Defstead, it will work. So Defstead needs to push on, get a 5-second gap to Nemesis Racing as quickly as he can before tyres get up to temperature. And Nemesis actually overcuts his teammate with all that drama of a front wing change and stop-go penalties and just an absolute nightmare. Nemesis gets ahead of his teammate. You wouldn't have thought we'd ever be saying that when we was watching him battle for second place. But how hard are these teammates going to fight? It is the same team, and they do have a car about to lap them. Now, how will Nibbler come into play with this battle? But these guys are going hammer and tong. They're really not working together as teammates here. They're going to fight in every stretch you could imagine, really going for it. But how long do they leave it before they let Nibbler through? And where can Kevin tactically play this and let Nibbler through and try use it to gain on his teammate? That's definitely something that will be going through Kevin's head at the moment, but he can't stay in front of Nibbler for too long. When the blue flags show, he needs to get out of the way because he will get penalised for ignoring those blue flags. if he chooses to ignore them. Just because you're battling doesn't mean you can ignore blue flags. Not in this series. Testermeister goes for a new fastest lap of the race on the Super Sauce. Is he trying to go after Anel Tanovic? It's going to be very tough for him to do so. Anel will be decreasing pace, but Tester still has like 21 seconds, roughly, to catch Anel Tanovic, so it's going to be tough. And it looks like Kevin went to the inside there to stay out of the way of Nibbler, expecting Nibbler to be faster down the straight than he was. Not happening on that occasion. Oh! Oh no! What happened there? What's just happened to Kevin Jacobs? He's just... oh my goodness, that is just... oh, that is heartbreak. He's just spun out, gone into the wall, and he's out of the race. Oh my goodness. What a nightmare for Kevin Jacobs. Went for battling for second, driving the best he has driven all season to a DNF. Anel Tanovic pits because he knows he can't hold off Testermeister within this with this set of compound tyres. So how close is Testermeister going to be? Pulls into the pit box now. That's a nightmare, absolute nightmare for Kevin Jacobs. The best he's driven all season, and to end like that is just heartbreaking. This is going to be close up. Testermeister has the run, but Anel has the ground. Now, how close will it be? Tester very late on the brakes to try get involved with Anel Tanovic. As soon as, yeah, it's strange that there wasn't a safety car, or at least a virtual safety car, but no safety cars on this occasion to mix up the racing. But the racing has resumed with Testermeister closing in very much on Anel Tanovic. Now, unfortunately for Defstez, Nemesis is within his 5-second window, so Defstez will be demoted to P5, it seems. How will Testermeister fare against Anel Tanovic? I don't think either of these guys have a penalty. No penalties to worry about there. Kevin Jacobs did have a penalty, no longer a concern, obviously. And everyone else is clean. So these guys all going flat out to the end, apart from Defstez, who needs to manage a 5-second gap, but just doesn't seem to have the tyre life left to do it. Testermeister really putting the pressure on Anel Tanovic, because Anel's going to take a lap or two to get these tyres up to temperature. And Tester will be in the DRS window. Did go wide there, though. That could be the saving grace for Anel Tanovic. He'll just be in DRS, I think. But he won't be in a position to challenge with that DRS. He'll use it to pull him along, but don't expect a move. If you do, don't expect the move to work. If there is a move, don't expect it to work. But I doubt there'll be any form of move into turn 1. He's just not close enough. Through we go. Pushing on, pushing strong. But Anel Tanovic is starting to pull away. We'll just see how much older. They're only 3 laps older, Supersauce, but that can make all the difference, of course. Nibbler, is he really going to go for the 1-stop and win it by over a minute? It'll be tough, but I mean, what's he got to lose when he's almost lapping second and third? That is heartbreak hotel. And that Nibbler's not actually that far from lapping second and third. That's insane. Meanwhile, Nemesis Racing begins a battle with Defstez to take back P4 on merit now. Defstez is on 8-lap old medium compound tyres. Defstez has nothing to fight with. So he'll likely just let this one go. He has a penalty anyway. It was always going to happen. But is Defstez desperate to make an impression? Wants to show Nemesis that he's not just going to bow out and get out of the way, but he lets go for blue flags and Nemesis. That's very smart, because Nibbler now getting involved. Where will Nemesis let Nibbler through? Nibbler is going to stay in front, risking a penalty here. Defstez does mount that curb like an absolute god. Wow. That's a big corner cut for Nemesis Racing. Trying to get out of the way of Nibbler. Still not quite out of the way, though. Now gets out of the way. Looks like he's going to try letting through on the straight, but he'll have to let go of the throttle a little bit to make sure that works for him. And that's the value of experience. Nemesis Racing waited. I thought that was going to be a crash. And all the nice words I said about experience are going to get him undone. No way, he almost takes out the leader. Nemesis Racing, we was just complimenting your experience. Do not take out the race leader. That was so close, and now Defstez is back in the fray. Yikes, that could have been a massive accident. Imagine the controversy. The most experienced driver in NORL takes out the race leader when he's been lapped. Whew. But that brings Defstez back into the race. And it's game on again. But, of course, Defstez has a 5-second penalty. So it's game on but game off at the same time. Defstez couldn't do it, so he can say he did it on merit. But penalties are going to take him out of this battle. So Defstez closing in on Nemesis Racing. Goes a little bit wide, does Nemesis. That's going to bring Defstez into play. But Defstez gets a little bit of a tank slap on the exit. Nemesis Racing goes wide again. He struggled through this sector all weekend. We've seen him go off so many times in that particular corner. However, Defstez's 9-year-old mediums are screaming enough. They're double the age of Nemesis Racing's softer compound tyres. Nemesis actually, wow, look at the speed from Defstez. Not even in the slipstream, but almost alongside him into turn 1. Where did he get that speed from down the straight? What engine is that Force India running? Almost a rocket ship pulling alongside Nemesis Racing there. He did have DRS, but he wasn't in the slipstream. So that was wild. Defstez still in the fray. Doing a good job considering the tyres. Now we're not sure. Again, it looks like he has soft compounds on, but our data tells us he's on medium, so we're not sure. If he's on 10 lap old softs, I think he'd be a lot slower than he was. So I think it is just a colour glitch on the compound of tyre. I think he is on mediums, but he shouldn't have anything to fight this with, because mediums are not only a lot slower, but they're like very, very harder as well. So when they wear big. The Nemesis tyres won't be doing too hot either. Soft tyres aren't the greatest compound in the world. We have yellow flags in Sector 2. What is that for? Whatever it was, it's been resolved very quickly. So quickly, we didn't even get to see what it was. But Defstez, coming out the final corner, will have DRS. At least he's keeping within a second of Nemesis Racing. Now, we saw the rocket ship pace when he wasn't in the slipstream. What's the rocket ship pace when he is on the slipstream? Alongside him. Can he go around the outside? He won't have the tyres to do this. But he can at least put Nemesis under pressure and hope he can force an error from the most experienced man. Of course, that experience will hopefully stop Nemesis making an error for him. But there's no harm in trying. Nemesis really getting on with a job, but Defstez desperate to make an impression earlier on in this series, and he has had a good race today. There was the shout at the podium, but we're caught up in a first lap incident. Ooh, that was close. Lock up to avoid hitting the rear of Nemesis Racing through there. Through the chicane we come. And Nemesis Racing pulls out a gap to what I will assume will be just under 7/10 of a second as we head into the second DRS zone. Defstez will bring that to under 4/10 of a second, but will lock up in doing so. Nemesis Racing tyres looking like he's really struggling here. Does Nemesis have the pace to keep Defstez at bay? Now, Nemesis will keep the position regardless, because Defstez has a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, but ooh, that's a mistake from Nemesis. That's not how you take that corner. That's going to give Defstez a mighty opportunity. We've seen how much faster Defstez is in a straight line. And with this close, surely the move will be done before turn 1 if he keeps up that rate of knots. Now watch this Pink Panther just blast past going into turn 1. Defstez up into P4 for now. And Nemesis will see what he can do. But Defstez makes a mistake, goes a bit wide, picks up a little bit of gravel, and will lose the position to Nemesis again. Nemesis looking like he's going wide, holds onto it. Now going very defensive immediately. Now Defstez looking to the outside, not going to be able to outbrake him on mediums, let alone on that corner. That corner's hard enough to take on your own, let alone side by side with another car. Down into the downhill section we come. A lock up on the front left, says the mediums, just begging, please stop battling and just drive us to the finish. But Defstez wants to make an impression on merit, and if he's going to lose P4, he wants to lose it on penalties, not by being beaten by Nemesis Racing. But Nemesis Racing's tyres reach lap 7 in terms of their age, and they will no longer be the talk of the town. It will be pretty rough around the edges. So that could cancel out any advantage Nemesis has. Now, it looks, I'm really not sure. I'm going to bring up the telemetry. Look at the battery difference. 89%, and Nemesis goes wide again. Another mistake. Mounts that curve like a monster as well. Now this is why Destes is so fast. He's saving his battery through the whole lap for one big attack down the straight. Nemesis is saving it as well, but look at the depletion on the bottom right for Destes. He's got so much more battery, utilises that to put himself in a position there, but Nemesis gets the better line and holds the brakes on the inside. Gets a very good exit out of that corner as well, actually. Bravo to Nemesis for that exit. Just drove away like he was on rails, but that is why Destes is so fast in a straight line. He is saving this battery so much through the infield section that he just has a catapult down the front start-finish straight. And will begin saving his battery once more. Nibbler will start his final lap on the next lap. So Kanaltanovic will take a well-earned second place. However, he will be under investigation for the Ragnar collision, I am sure. I would say there's going to be at least an investigation. Now, crucial. Phil Destes, did not have any DRS there to help him stay within that second. Now, could that be the crucial turning point as we head to the final lap? Is he going to get DRS for the start-finish straight? We'll have to wait and see. It'll be tough if he does. But I think he's just outside of DRS, or just in, no, he's just inside. DRS enabled. Now, watch this. It's like Bullet Bill from Mario Kart. Nemesis has saved a little bit more battery than last time to try to defend with this. And Phil just doesn't have the speed down the start-finish straight. I apologise for saying Phil again. It is Destes, but that is Destes' first name. Just a little bit of a commentator's insider tip for you there. Nemesis saved enough battery that time to be able to defend adequately and not be under pressure into turn one. But the final lap we come, where is Nibbler? He can't be far from home. He's in sector 2. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll watch this battle for as long as we can and see if any of them make a last lap mistake or a last lap lunge or just any signs of desperation that we so often see on the final lap of a Grand Prix. But it looks like Nemesis has outlasted the tyres of Destes, and Destes just not able to stay within the gap. And Nibbler, meanwhile, coming through the final sector, has actually lapped these guys. That's bizarre that he's lapped everyone but the podium, and he wasn't far from lapping the podium. He very nearly lapped the podium, did Nibbler today. A man on his own level. Nobody stood a chance against the Australian today. Nibbler takes another win in Spain on 23 lap-old mediums nonetheless. Nobody had an answer for the Australian today. And that is the racing done. Unfortunately for Destes and Nemesis, they will not be allowed to complete that final lap. They will finish and come home in P4 and P5 respectively. Good effort for Destes. First ever race. P5 is a good, stellar job. There was the hint of the podium, but sometimes it all goes away in the first lap, which it did, and that's unfortunate, but he'll learn and come back for the next one. Kanaltanovic will take a good P2 if he can make it home. Testameister will take a P3 as well. Everyone else is coming home to finish. Lord George with a P6 comes home 35 seconds off P5. The 5-second penalty will take effect and will be only 30 seconds, and then Beamer Black will come home to take P7, which means we'll just be waiting on Kanaltanovic and Testameister to finish this Grand Prix. But Nibbler wins another one in the most dominating fashion we've seen yet. No one stood a chance. It's quite that simple. And will Nibbler be here next season, or will the NORL balance of performance, act, rule, thing, procedure will take him out of it? We're not sure, but at this stage in the race, Nibbler dominates. Testameister comes home and takes the podium, and that is round number 5 complete. Nibbler says that's for Danny Rick. Very true. Poor Daniel Ricciardo wishes he could have some of your car's speed today. But another win for Nibbler, head of the McLaren and the Renault on the podium. Crazy racing. Destes impresses on debut. Nemesis Racing almost takes out the leader. Doesn't quite. Kevin goes from hero to zero. Ragnar causes a massive accident after being taken out himself. It's all been crazy, and it's certainly been more interesting than the real Spanish Grand Prix. And there are your respective penalties across the line. So Nibbler wins once again for Ferrari. Aneltanovic comes on P3. Testameister P3. Nemesis Racing P4. Defstets P5. Lord Jod UK 6th. Mima Black 7th. Kevin Jacobs 8th. Ragnar 9th and Machilaga 10th. And I'm sure there will be an investigation into the crashes we saw early on. But that's been that. Until Wednesday, guys, you can see the FIA GT3 series here from NORL. Until then, have a very good rest of your Sunday. The work week begins tomorrow, and we bid you the best of luck. But we'll see you next time on Wednesday for FIA GT3. Thank you for watching. Until next time.